everybody. Welcome to our workout. My name is Emily, and I'm going to just get started by reading the disclaimer that I'm sure you have all memorized by heart at this point, but I will read it to you anyways. So in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness classes to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, the virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it is entirely up to the individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members to consult the Get Active Questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference documents. It's a mouthful. If you experience any pain or difficulty during this exercise presented in this video, it is recommended that you stop and consult a healthcare provider. If you are a CAF member, please make sure that you fill out a CF98 in the event that you sustain an injury. So now that we have that out of the way, I can introduce myself and tell you what we have planned today. So my name is Emily, and I am a sports and fitness instructor at the Dockyard in Halifax. Welcome to another one of our live streams. Today we're going to be focusing on yoga and mobility, so kind of a combination of both. You really don't need a lot of equipment for today's class. Basically your yoga mat, and that's basically all. So we're gonna get started. I do apologize. I'm having a little bit of a hard time with my camera angles today. So hopefully you can see me all right and it's not a funky angle. So we're just going to start. I'm gonna put some music on. I hope that's okay. We're going to start by just lying on our back, and we're gonna start with a little bit of shoulder mobility. So I'm just gonna get you to go into a flat position. Shoulders are on the mat. Palms are going to face down towards the floor. So we're gonna just work through our breath is going to be the key for this one. I'll just turn this just so slightly. So lying on your back, palms flat on the floor. You're going to feel your palms making contact with the floor, feeling your shoulder blades relaxing. Sinking into the mat. On your next inhale, you're going to inhale and you're going to allow your arms to come overhead, and then allow the back of your hand to make contact with the mat overhead. We're going to hold here for 2 breaths. On your 3rd breath, allow the hands to make their way back down to the mat. Good. We're going to now work with our inhale and our exhale. So on the inhale, you're going to raise your hands overhead, and the back of your palm is going to make contact with the mat above your head. Exhale, you're going to return to your starting position. So let's do about 5 breaths here. Good, continue on. That's 2. 3. 2 more breaths here. 4. And let's do 1 more deep breath for 5. Excellent. So as I cue up some music so that you don't hear all the rustle and bustle in my household, I want you to draw your knees up towards your chest. And in this position, you're going to be holding each knee with a hand, and you're just going to rock back and forth very, very gently. And all this is going to do is just act like a little massage for your lower back. So let's just work throughout our breath, inhaling to one side, exhaling to the other, and going back and forth throughout those motions. Beautiful. And now I'm going to get you to come to a flat position on your back once more. And if you remember as a child, probably you did some snow angels. And we're going to do something very, very similar. So we're going to inhale. And as we inhale, you're going to allow your legs to come to as far apart as possible, and you're going to bring your hands up overhead, just like you're making a snow angel. So we're going to allow our breath to guide us. So inhale, dragging the fingertips on the floor. So the hands are overhead, legs are spread far apart. Exhaling, coming back down to the hands are by our side and our feet are back together. We're going to do this for 5 breaths. We've already done 2, so this is our 3rd breath. 3, 4, big snow angels, and 5 is our final movement. We're going to bring the knees back up to our chest once again, and we're just going to allow ourselves to rock side by side, pulling your knee into your chest, feeling the stretch throughout your hip flexors, focusing on your breath. Beautiful. You're now going to bring your feet so that they're placed just underneath your bum, or sorry, just in line with your bum. Your back is going to be flat on the floor. You're going to cross your arms. Let's show you this from a seated position. You're going to cross your arms just like I'm doing, holding each elbow. So with one hand, you'll be making contact with the inside of the elbow. The other hand, you'll be making contact with the top of the elbow. You're going to allow your shoulders to come flat on the floor. Feel your back sinking into the mat. And as you drop your knees to the left side, I want you to drop your elbows to the right, keeping everything in line. Not losing contact with the elbows. The elbows move in a unit. If you find it challenging to get your knee to the floor, you can always use a pillow for support. We're going to inhale back to the center. Exhale, same thing on the opposite side. So allow the arms to rotate to the left side. The knees are rotating to the right side. You're still grasping the inside of your elbow with one hand, the outside of the elbow with the other. Gaze is facing over to the opposite side of the legs. Let's inhale back to center and exhale to the other side. Beautiful. Inhale back to center and exhale to the other side. We're going to do this 2 more times per side. Inhale back to center and exhale to the other side. This is the last time on this side. Now that we're here, I'm going to get you to open your chest, opening your arms so that the top of your hands is making contact with the floor. And we're going into an iron cross in this position. Keeping both shoulders flat on the mat, focusing your gaze over the hand that is opposite of the knees. Very carefully bring those knees back to center, and we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Beautiful. Come on back to center, pulling the knees into the chest once again, just rocking back and forth. Allow the floor to act as a massage for your back. I apologize, it took me so long to get that music on. Beautiful. Now we're going to work within a hip bridge extension. So the same as we did before with making the snow angels with our arms, we're going to do that again. But how we're going to do it, and you can sit up for a moment and watch me. Feet are going to be planted on the floor. As you inhale, you're going to push through your hips, allowing your hips to come off the floor, and your hands are going to move in the same motion that we did that snow angel on our first move. Inhale, fingertips drag along the floor, shoulders are rotating to allow us to have our hands overhead, and then the same thing returning back to the floor. So join me for this now. We're going to stay here for about 6 breaths. So we're going to inhale as our hips come off the floor. Exhale as we find the floor with our hips once again. Make sure that we're squeezing our bum together at the top. Not only is this forcing shoulder mobility, but it's also strengthening the core, strengthening the glutes if activated properly. I'm on my 4th breath. I'm going to do 3 more breaths here. Now, depending on the range of motion that you have in your shoulders, you may not be able to make it up all the way, and that's okay. It's really just whatever you're comfortable with doing. 2 more breaths here. And 1 more as you inhale, arms are coming overhead, pushing your heels into the floor, allowing your glutes to come off the floor. Good. And now that we're here, on your next breath, you're going to keep your glutes or your bum off the floor, pressing into your heels. I want you to clasp your hands in behind your back, and we're going to just arch our back up a little bit more. So pushing your hips to the sky as much as you can into a little mini back bridge here. Feel the stretch through your lower back. At this point, your shoulders should have a little bit more range of motion, so hopefully you're able to clasp your hands underneath yourself. 2 more breaths here. Hold it, hold it. I know it's hard. And allow yourself to relax down and your hands to relax, no longer needing to interlace. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of a break. So what I'm going to get you to do is we're going to go into a tabletop position. You're going to have your hips are just, your knees are just shoulder width apart, placed underneath your hips. We're just going to kind of push back through our palms, not going directly into a child's pose. It's kind of a partial position. And we're actually just going to breathe through this position. So our poses today are quite gentle, nothing too intense. We really are working on opening up the hips. Really allowing your breath to guide you through this movement. And you'll notice that the more you breathe, each rep, you'll be able to sink a little bit further into this pose. Let's do about 5 breaths here. Inhale, and on this final exhale, I am going to get you to push back into a full child's pose. If you have the mobility, you can come so that your forehead is making contact with the floor. If that mobility is not there, that's okay. You can stack your wrists one on top of each other and rest your forehead on your wrists, or you can use a pillow or a block to support you. So let's stay here for 3 breaths. Legs should be apart far enough to make room for our belly. So I'm on my 3rd breath now. I'm going to come back up to a tabletop position. We're going to go into a bird dog. So we're going to do opposite arms and opposite legs. So how this looks, my hands are placed directly underneath my shoulders. My belly is tight, as if I'm zipping up a pair of pants. So if I'm zipping up a pair of pants, I'm drawing everything inward. I'm going to shift my weight to the right-hand side to start. And I'm going to move my opposite arm and opposite leg. So my weight is on my right-hand side. That means my left leg and my right hand are able to release from the floor, holding this position for a count of 2, and then bringing it back down to the floor. Same thing, but we're going to alternate the sides. Good. Now, using your own breath and on your own count, I'm going to get you to work through 5 repetitions per side, or 5 breaths per side, 10 total. Do your very best to keep your hips close to the floor, pushing through the palm and allowing yourself to not rock. You should be so strong through this pose. All the muscles in our legs should be pulling to the back of the room while our fingertips are pulling to the front of the room. Activating the glute. Everything is scooped up. Five, 6, 7, 8, 2 more breaths. Good, and relax and allow yourself to come back into child's pose once more. Just for 3 breaths. Beautiful. Come on back up to a tabletop position once again. To set up for this, we're going to have our hands directly underneath our shoulders. We're going to place the back of our right hand on the floor. And on our inhale, we're going to do a rotation. So basically like we're threading a needle. So we're going to rotate, allow our head to come through our left arm, and that palm that's on the floor is facing up. The opposite hand is overhead, and your head is peeking through the little hole that's created by your arm. You should feel a lovely stretch here in through the shoulders. Let's stay here for 3 breaths. Pressing the top of the hand into the floor, causing a deeper stretch. Good. Now the hand that is on top over your head, I want you to bend that elbow, bringing the hand back into the tabletop position. So where we started, inhale, on the exhale, push through that palm and very gently come out of that pose. We're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. So now you're going to place the top of your left hand on the mat. You're going to allow your hand to act as a sewing needle, sewing the left hand through the right arm, and the right arm is then stretched out as far as we can in front of us, feeling the stretch through our shoulder. We're going to stay here for 3 to 5 breaths. Pressing the top of the hand into the floor, getting a further stretch through your shoulders. I love this one because personally I have a really hard time getting in here. Even with a foam roller, I find it challenging, especially when I don't have a massage. So I really like this stretch. Stay here for 2 more breaths for good measure. Pressing that top of the hand into the floor. Good. Again, let's bring the right hand back to the position in which we started in, allowing yourself to rotate out of that position, pushing back once more into downward dog, feeling if our hips have opened up at all, feeling how much closer we can get to the floor. We're just going to stay here as our rest position for another 2 breaths. We're going to inhale back to the center position, and we're actually going to do another set of our bird dog. We're going to do that whole sequence again. So the bird dog, combining that with a twist. So inhaling, shifting your weight to the right hand side, and then opposite arm, opposite leg. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and one more for 10. Beautiful. Coming back into our tabletop position, we're going to go into the rotational twist just one last time. We'll stay here for 5 breaths. So just as a reminder, you're going to take your right hand, you're going to place it on top of the mat. So your left hand is facing the front of the room, your right hand is, your fingertips are pointing to the back of the room, and you're making contact with the back of your hand. You're going to use your hand as if it's a little sewing needle, and you're going to push the fingers through the hole created by your left hand, and then you're going to take the left hand and reach as far as you can forward. We're going to hold here for 3 breaths. I apologize for any background noise you hear. This is a noisy house with a noisy 2-year-old. One last breath here. Bring the left hand into where we started, that tabletop position. Push through the palms, rotating now to the other side. So again, the right hand is going to be placed top of the hand to the floor. Fingertips of the right hand are facing the back of the room. Top of the hand making contact with the mat. Inhale. On the exhale, you're going to sew the left arm through the right hand, and then extend that right hand all the way overhead. Holding here for 3 breaths, thinking about pressing the shoulder and pressing the back of the hand, top of the hand into the floor, feeling a stretch through your shoulder blades. One more breath here, and allowing the right hand to come back to a tabletop position, pushing through the palms, bringing yourself to a seated position. Now we're going to bring our hips just shoulder width apart. We're going to now start opening up our hips a little bit more. We spent some time on our shoulders, briefly our hips, but we're going to focus on that a little bit deeper at this point. So we're just going to, and this may be hard, especially if you have some bad knees. So if you need to just kind of sit and breathe this, that's okay too. So you're going to come onto your knees, and we're just going to allow ourselves to keep our shoulders nice and tight. Belly is maintaining our torso or supporting our torso. We're not hunched over, and you're just allowing yourself to come back as far as you can. You'll feel a stretch through your ankles. You'll feel a stretch through the top of your foot. And just holding here. If you need to support yourself or balance, you can bring your hands out to the side. Good. Now I want you to think about lowering your knees a little bit closer to the mat. So now your shins should be making contact. You're going to feel a little bit more of a stretch through your hips. Very, very lightly and gently, you're going to walk your hands back. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. Now, if you can only get this far, that's okay. If you feel confident to come down onto your forearms, I encourage you to do so. If you're really comfortable and you can feel like you can make contact with your shoulders to the mat, that's also encouraged. So wherever you are right now, we're just gonna stay here. We're gonna stay here for 3 breaths. Coming back onto your forearms now, very, very gently. We're going to pair this with a frog pose. So you'll notice your legs are already quite far apart. So now we're going to kind of pair that up by doing a position that's kind of contradicting the movement. So legs are far apart, ankles are making contact with the floor, and you're pushing through your palms, lowering your hips as much as you possibly can to the floor. Similar to child's pose, but we're even wider spread, and you'll feel this even more through the hip flexors. The key to this is to make sure that the ankles, the inside of the ankle, is making its way down towards your mat. Again, this is one of these poses that, depending on your range of motion through your hip, depending on your mobility, is going to really affect how deep into the pose you can get. So let's just stay here. Let's stay here for 5 breaths, and we're just gonna kind of play with our range. On your 5th breath, come on back up onto your hands. Very gently allow your knees to come a little bit further together, and we're going to go into that same pose. And notice, just kind of play with it a little bit and see if you find that your range is a little bit deeper. So again, if you only got as far as I am right now, that's okay. If you can come back onto your hands, that's great. On your forearms, perfect, or all the way down. Really, whatever is the most comfortable for you and wherever you are at this time. Let's stay here for 5 breaths. One more breath for 5. Coming back onto our elbows, then pushing back to our forearms. We're going to go into the frog pose once more. This is going to feel really, really nice, especially because we're kind of doing the opposite motion. Now see if your range is a little bit deeper at this point. So again, the inside of your ankle is making contact with the mat. And you are either on your forearms, or your head can be making contact if you have a lot of mobility, or you're stacking your fists on top of each other, whatever you can do. Good. Bring your hands to the mat, and we're gonna go into a 90-90 stretch just to counteract that a little bit. So your hands are going to be making contact with the floor. They're kind of placed behind your back. Inhale. On your exhale, you're going to drop both of your knees to the left side. Feeling that lovely, lovely stretch. And then inhaling back to center, exhaling to the other side. So what we're looking for here is about 3 breaths per side. I often tend to spend a lot of time on the hips, especially now where we probably find ourselves sitting a little bit more than we are used to with working from home or just not as many places to be. Because we get a lot tighter, I guess, than we think we do. So both knees are at 90 degrees. Good. We're going to come on up onto our knees. You're going to take your left foot, and I hope that you can see my full range here. I know I don't have the best of camera angles. You're going to place the left foot to the side, and you're going to take the left hand making contact with the left leg, probably on your shin. And then you're going to inhale, bringing the opposite arm over top. Stay here for 3 breaths. Good. Inhale back to center. Same thing on the other side. Allow your right foot to come out to the side. Leg is straight. For this, you can have your toe pointed to the floor, or you can have your toe up to the sky. It's really preference and what feels most comfortable for you. Inhaling, dropping or sliding the right hand down your leg until you're somewhere towards your shin. Inhale and exhaling, allowing yourself to fold to the right side. Good. Releasing the arm, sliding the hand back up the body. Come down to the floor into a seated position. We're going to allow our legs to come as far apart as you are comfortable doing. And we're going to inhale, exhale. You're going to try to keep the back nice and flat, hinging at the hips, and walking your fingertips out in front of you until you feel a stretch that you feel you can no longer go any further with. Shoulders are away from the ears, and we're just going to hold this. You're going to rotate your toes, so pointing your toes like a ballerina, rotating the femurs so that the toes are not folding in, the ankles aren't towards the floor, the ankles are towards the sky, or that's the goal at least. Good. Now come on back to center. Now the same as we just did a moment ago where we did our side bend, we're going to do the exact same thing. The only difference is that we're in a seated position. Those femurs are externally rotated. So rotating the femurs out, inhaling, exhale, dropping the shoulder to the floor, and then allowing the opposite arm to come over top. And we're going to hold here for 3 breaths. You'll be very surprised as we move through this how your range of motion will deepen. Using your breath Thinking about getting your shoulder even closer to your leg, closer to the floor. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling, dropping the shoulder of the opposite arm now. Bringing the left arm over top. Just kind of take notice of what's happening. Have your femurs started to roll in? If so, make sure that you have an external rotation. Are your toes still pointed? Good. 2 more breaths. Releasing that arm, inhaling back to center. Arms are going to be at the side this time, not pulling us forward. And now we're going to make our way towards the floor, seeing what our range looks like. So again, don't lose that foot position. Keeping the shoulders away from the ears. We're just going to very carefully and slowly and methodically pulse through this movement. Bringing the chest to the floor. Let's do this 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Staying strong through the arms, strong through the chest. One last time. Beautiful. We're going to do either side again, 3 breaths per side. If you want to just rotate the ankles in circles or the toe in circles, just to relax the ankle, you can totally do that. But we are going to head into this pose one last time. Inhaling. Exhale, drop the left shoulder towards the left leg. Inhale, and allow the opposite arm to round over top. Hold here for 3 breaths. External rotation of the feet and of the femur. Good. Release the top arm. Inhale back to center. Inhale, exhaling, drop that right shoulder to the floor, and same motion, opposite side. 3 breaths here. On the 3rd breath, come on back up into your seated position, relaxing the ankles, doing a couple circles with the big toe. Now, once again, pointing your toes, externally rotating the legs so that the ankles are making their way, the inside of the ankles are making their way to the ceiling. Arms are to the side. We're going to do 3 inhales. And exhaling. Inhaling back to seated. Exhaling. Inhale, back to seated. Exhale, and this one we're going to hold here. Keeping the shoulders away from the ear. Taking note as to how far you're able to get in this position in comparison to our first round through. Hands are going to come to the legs, pushing through the palm, bringing our feet back together. Inhaling, exhaling, allowing yourself to fold to a forward bend. Two more breaths here. Good. Very, very carefully coming back to a seated position. We're going to go into that 90-90 stretch just one last time, and this is the last thing that we're going to do today. So feet are flat on the floor, knees are at 90 degrees, rotating with each breath to the left side. Staying as long as you need to. About one long deep breath. Inhaling, exhaling to the other side. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling. Even with this, you'll notice that you have probably a deeper range of motion now than the first time that you did it. That back knee may be finding itself a little bit closer to the floor. And one last time on the other side. And that is it for today. So I would like to thank you guys so much for joining me. It's a beautiful day, at least here in New Glasgow. It's beautiful, so I really look forward to hopefully seeing you all soon. Maybe in person would be amazing. But for today, thank you so much for joining. We will see you next week. Don't forget to snap some pictures of yourself doing your class today. And yeah, all right, we'll see you next week. Take care.